Hi, I'm Claire. I'm one of the pottery tutors here at the Art Centre, East Kilbride, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a fairy house with some pinch pots and just using some hand building skills. So you won't really need a lot of tools or anything doing this at home. So first of all, I'm starting off with quite a big ball of clay and want to make as if we're making a big snowball and just pat this really hard in our hands to begin with. And what I'm doing here is making sure that all the air that's trapped in the clay comes out of it and it's nice and compressed. So just spend a wee 5 minutes doing this first of all, just making sure the clay is really patted in and nice and tight. Okay, any air pockets that we get in the clay will result in blowouts in the kiln, so we don't want to lose the nice work at the end of it, so it's worth spending a wee bit of time at the start. Okay, so once I'm happy that I've got that really nice and firm and all the air's out of it, I'm going to go in with my thumb and press deep into the clay but not all the way through. So I maybe want to leave just like half an inch at the bottom of that. And then I'm going to start to work the clay by pinching out between my thumb and my fingers here, and I'm rotating it in my other hand as I'm doing it. I want to try and aim to keep the walls of the clay as even as possible, so that's why I'm turning and pressing as I'm doing it. We also don't want to go too thin when we're doing this, because then the walls will collapse. So this is going to form the basis of our wee house here. So again, there's no rush to it, you can just take your time, however long it takes you, just to press, keep pressing and turning as you're doing it. And obviously if your hands are getting sore doing it, you can just place it down and take a wee rest for a wee while and go back to it. Depending on the clay that's come out your bag, if the clay's a wee bit stiffer, it can be quite hard to do. I'm also just now going into the inside here where I can't quite get down deep enough with just my fingers. So I'm going in with my hand and I'm using like a kind of scooping action here at the bottom. Again, just to thin it out. If I leave it too thick at that bottom bit at the base, again it'll be uneven, and that's where things can blow up in your kiln or break. So I'm just scraping up the insides of the walls of my pot, just pushing the clay up, making it all even. Again, turning it in my left hand as I'm doing it. Okay, you see that it's grown wider as well and taller, so just keep kind of stopping and assessing it to see how high you want your house to be as well. And as I say, you don't want to pinch it out too much that it becomes too thin. This pot here is going to be the base, so it has to take the weight of the lid there. So I'm just working thinning out these walls, making sure that they're even. Okay, I'm going to just pop it on to my wee turntable here. And if you've got anything in the house like your rolling pin or a butter pat, even a piece of wood, a stick, you can just use that as well, just to help you manipulate the clay and just get it nice and even. It's important you want to get a nice finish on your clay always as well. Any sharp edges or parts that you leave, once they're dry and fired, can become really, really sharp in your hand. So also smoothing down and compressing the clay helps it strengthen up as well. So what I'm going to do first of all is use my serrated edge kidney here. I'm going to use the rough side. Just be careful with your fingers with this one, but I'm just using it on the pot up the side of the walls to roughen it all up first of all. And you'll see that some bits are coming off. That's me just getting it again an even thickness. So any thicker bits will just scrape off. Whenever I'm doing anything in clay, I'm always using my other hand to support it. So you'll see that my left hand is on the inside of the pot just now. And that's just if I was pushing against that and my hand wasn't there, I could collapse the walls of my pot. And I'm not applying a lot of pressure onto this to do it. Just really combing it, just combing it up. Again, it's worth spending a wee bit of time and not rushing these things so you get a better result at the end. Okay, so once I've done that, I then use my rubber kidney, and that is going to smooth the clay now and get a nice finish on it. You can also use a damp sponge to smooth your clay as well, but my clay I'm using today is really quite wet already, so I don't really want to put any more moisture into it just now, so I'm just going to use my kidney to do the same job. Again, it's worth spending a bit of time, as I say, doing this, and you can even, if you feel your clay you've got is really soft and it's making a lot of marks with your rubber kidney rather than smoothing it, you can just leave your clay to dry a little bit, so just put it somewhere for half an hour and go back to it, let some of the moisture dry off. I'm just going around that rim as well. Again, as I was saying, it compresses all the clay and makes it more sturdy, and that means there'll be less chance of cracks forming. Okay, so just going to let this stiffen up and we'll push this to one side just now while we work on the roof of the house. So there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could just roll out your clay into a flat sheet and cut out like a semicircle and wrap it around to form like a kind of mushroom shaped kind of pointy roof if you wanted a more pointy one. But again, I'm just going to go with another pinch pot and keep it nice and simple. If you are rolling out any clay, you want to make sure that you're rolling it out onto something porous, like a piece of material or a wooden board. If you're rolling it out onto a glass or a laminated table or anything, it will stick to it. So again, just making sure there's no air in the clay. This time, before I put my thumb in and open out, I'm going to just kind of manipulate the clay to change the shape of it slightly. So I'm turning this in my hand and I'm just hitting the top part of it just now. You'll see I'm starting to get it into a more kind of cone-like shape. That's helping us to form the shape already before we hollow it out. Okay, and I'm just going to pinch that top bit out there. And then I'm going to do the same as the last time, press my thumb in, or your finger, whichever you can get in the deepest. I've just created a hole down there, and then I'm going to work to press out these walls. Okay, you want to try and make this roughly the same size as this, so you can just keep kind of checking and see how much we need to flare it out or pinch it out. Pressing with my thumb on the inside to push that out. If you start to feel your clay is getting quite thin, then you can just again pop it down, let it stiffen up a little bit. Also just giving that a wee bash just at the bottom. For size. So I'm just trying to flare it out a little bit at the bottom. If you've gone quite thin and you feel that this is like on the verge of kind of collapsing, what you can do is scrunch up some newspaper and pop it in the inside of that as well, just till it dries and gets a little bit stiffer and holds the shape more. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to set this aside just to stiffen. I will go over that as well, the same way I did with this, with the serrated edge kidney and the rubber edge kidney to smooth it, but it's just a wee bit soft to do that just now. So again, I'm just going to push it to one side and let it stiffen up. Okay, and I'm going to just bring this in ever so slightly at the top, just to get a nice fit with my roof. Use your hands as well. Okay, the next part I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll out a wee slab of clay for the base of the house. You don't need to do a base if you don't want to, but if you were making this for a candle holder or a wee light to go in it, it'd be nice to put a base on it. Pop that to one side, and again I'm just going to roll out on a bit of board here. So again, before I roll out, just bashing the clay, being really firm with it just to make sure that I get any air out of it. Again, I'm just manipulating it a bit before I start to roll it out to make the rolling out easier for me. Okay, so I'll just start to roll it. Just gently. If I put too much weight on it, I'm going to end up with uneven clay, so just keep it at a nice even pressure. And then just as if I was rolling out pastry, you want to pick it up and keep turning it so it doesn't stick. going to check for size. We'll pop bits on there, and if you want to trim it up, you can use your knife or one of your modelling tools with a sharper edge on it, just to go round. I'm just going for a kind of squiggly, uneven base. I'll just take that off just now. Any scraps that I'm cutting off, I'm just putting back into a bowl. Again, you can bash out there and those, just reuse them. If you're going to be working on for a wee while, you can just put them in a wee lidded pot or wrap them in some cling film just to keep the clay from going hard. So again, where I've just cut around the edges here will become quite sharp once it's dry, so I just want to just make sure that's all nice and smooth. So, rubber kidney for that again. If you come across any pockets of air, and you can just use your needle or your knife and you can just poke those. That'll let the air release out of them. And just smooth over. Okay, ideally when this is nice and dry, I'll go back to that with a wet sponge as well. The clay is quite wet just now, so I'm just going to let it stiffen up. So while we're waiting on those to stiffen, we're going to start to make the little kind of features and things for our house just now. So again, just rolling out a bit of clay, so just the scraps that I had there. And this time I'm going to go quite thin with them. You can see here I've got some air pockets that's coming in, so just brush those with my needle. This is where you can have some fun and use some of your tools to texture up, or you can use things like wallpaper or sticks or things, to anything to place in to give it kind of texture. You can use the edge of your modelling tools just to press in to form lines. And what I'm going to do is create like a wooden door effect. I've also got this butter pat that's got some texture on it here as well, so even finding things you've got lying about the house. Some pressure. And then I'm just using my knife and I'm going to cut straight across one side, and then I'm going to create like a kind of arch shape here. Okay, and this clay I'm using is quite sticky this morning. You could roll this out and leave it for a little while before you start doing this. So you can see I've got some nice texture on there, and that's going to be my door shape. Anything that you're adding on to your clay, you want to use your slip and make sure you score and stick it on. So your slip's just some clay that's been broken down in water. And you can even add a wee bit of vinegar into it as well. The vinegar ages the clay and breaks it down, so it makes your slip a wee bit stickier. I'm going to use my paintbrush. Okay, and you can use your knife or your serrated edge tool just to score where you're going to put the door on. So I'm just going to cross hatch it, scoring one way and then the other way. And I want to do the same also on the back of my door. You're just creating like a Velcro effect, if you think about that, where the two surfaces can join together and stick. If we don't do this once your clay is dry, then that will just pop off again. And as I say, the slip is just really like a glue. So I'm just going to apply lots of that one. Nice and thick, and onto my door with it as well. Okay, you can mix your slip up to be as thick or as thin as you want it to be. But as long as you make sure that you've got enough of it on. Just pop the door on there and then just gently pressing it. To ensure we get a nice finish and no sharp edges again, I just take my brush and just take some of the thicker slip off it so it's just nice and runny, and then I just go around to tidy all that up. Gives you a much neater finish. Okay, and again, the detail's up to yourself, how much you would want to do and put on with it. I'm going to put some little wooden supports across my door, so I'm just going to add those on. Cutting this rectangle into these strips. And you could use your knife or the serrated edge kidney for this. These are a wee bit fiddly, so I'm just going to use the serrated edge kidney on this. And again, I'm trying not to push down too hard so as I don't lose the texture that I put on the other side of that. Okay, so I'm going to go across here and across here. So just scoring. Again, more of my slip. You can also use the edges of your tools just to make like little rivet marks and things like that for the nails. So just use my needle to push it in, or you can use the fine end of one of your tools. Okay, and I'm also going to just put an additional bit across from here to here. The next thing I'm going to do is to put some brick effect around my door. So all I'm going to do with that is again just these pieces that I rolled out and using. Just going to tear them because I want them to look uneven, and with the tearing I'll give them some texture as well. So just tearing them into rough kind of squares and chunks. just go and slip these as I'm attaching them. Making sure they're nice and pressed on. And you want them to be quite uneven and rustic looking. Again, if you wanted to do some texture onto them before you put them on, you can do that as well. Pressing stones and things into them gives them a kind of rough, uneven texture. Ideally, I'd want to be putting slip on each one of these before I put it on. Bashing them on for quickness just now to show you. Last one I'll run down there. Again, just pushing them on, and again I can go round with my brush. I'm quite wet. You could even use just water on your brush at this stage if you wanted to, but just making sure there's no rough edges. And I don't want to use my fingers or anything else to do this because I might lose some of the detail in that, so I'm just using my brush. Okay, next you can decide as well where you want some windows or things in your house, if you're going to use it for putting a wee candle in it or something. So I'll just go to the side here, and I'm just going to cut a wee circle. Push that out. And again, right away, you just want to make sure, smooth it all down and there's not going to be any sharp edges or roughness. There's not much wastage with your clay in making this, because any of the wee bits I cut out I'm going to just use. So the wee circle that I've just cut out there, and just roll that out and flatten it a wee bit more. Get a wee bit thinner and a bit bigger than my window. And again, I can use some texture on it. You could even use combs you've got in the house or anything just to put some wee lines on it. Just draw that down. And that can be wee shutters for your window that you could attach on either side as if they've opened out. Again, scoring and slipping if you want to do that. And from the rest of my scraps, I'm just going to roll out some coils. flatten that down slightly. Okay, you can add on window ledges or a crossbar on the window. So I'm just going to kind of score where I'm going to attach. Make the windows look however you like. I say in this one I've put the shutters and things on them and my window edges, so you can spend as much time as you want adding on your wee personal things. The other thing I've added onto this one is a wee chimney, and we've also got like a wee kind of snail things there for the outside as well. Again, just using my scrap clay, just put that into a ball. Rolling it in a ball in my hands first of all, and then I'm going to make it into a bit of a kind of fat sausage shape. And what I'm actually going to do here is just use the end of a paintbrush and just pop that inside. Carefully turning it, twisting it in my hand till I've skewered it all the way through. And then I'm going to roll it with the paintbrush inside it just so it opens out a wee bit. And that can be my chimney. Okay, if you want that to have a hole in it for the air to escape from it as well, if that was just a big solid piece of clay I was adding on, it's more than likely to blow up in the kiln. Have the air trapped in it. So this is a wee bit stiffer now. So again, I can go over this with my rough edge of my serrated edge metal kidney first of all. Or you could make the roof really nice and textured if you wanted to as well, by pressing some of your modelling tools or things into it. I'm just going to take out some of my kind of finger marks and bumps and bumps. I'm going to attach the roof in a second, but if I'm going to make this for a candle, I'm going to put it onto this base. I'm going to cut the base of this out just now. Again, you want to wait until your clay is like leather hard and quite stiff for doing this, but I'm just going to go in here with my knife and take away the base. Again, I'm cutting down on the weight of the clay. If we have too many thickness and too many layers when it's going in the kiln, we're going to have problems, so I'm just taking base out of that. And I'm just going to score this. Lots of slip. for the base of this too. Press the hand all round that on the inside just to make sure that's nice and firmly pressed on and attached to the base. Okay, you can cut a wee door at the back or something where you can insert a tea light through it, or you can make your roof so that it comes off. And again, I'm going to attach this roof just now, so I'm just going to score all around this with my serrated edge kidney. Score the edge of this and do the same. I'm going to work on smoothing the lid of this more when it's a wee bit stiffer, so I'm just going to attach it just now, and again I can always go back to it. You could work on this over a few days if you wanted to, and just wrap your clay up in a bin bag and spray it down if you feel it's getting too dry, and it will keep, and you can go back and work on it in stages if you don't have time to do it all in one stage. Again, I'm just going to use the paintbrush and go around and make sure that's all nice and sealed. Okay, the wee flowers and things I've stuck on this one, I've just used some little things you get for icing decorations that you can pick up really cheaply in some of the supermarkets and cake shops. Okay, and again, I'm just going to attach my wee chimney, so I'm just going to give it a wee dash down to make it a wee bit crooked looking. I'm just going to cut out a hole. So I'm just going to stick this on, the air is going to be able to travel right through it. Pinching the bottom out a wee bit just to make it wider to fit over that there. Again, anything you're attaching, scoring and slipping. You might want to use the handle of your paintbrush or one of the tools to get in here just to try and smooth that together on the inside. And then again, going round it all, the slip in the outside. Once it's on, you can even give it a wee bash about, play about with the shape. Okay, I've done a hole in the roof of this one for a wee window. So again, you can do that just at the other side. You don't want to do too many things at the one side and kind of risk weakening the structure of it and collapsing it, so I'm just making sure I'm spacing things out round about it. So I'll do this hole over at this side. And again, making sure there's no rough edges. On this one here, I've just made 2 little coils, just rolling them out, these snakes of clay. I'm going to go quite thin with it because I'm going to twist it. Okay, and then I'm just going to twist it around. Another reroll to tighten it all together. Join it together there, and again you can score and slip that and pop on. Okay, if I've got any marks on this where I've scored and slipped, you can just use your finger or your rubber kidney or your sponge just to smooth away those marks. Again, with this I can just go in and use my finger to smooth it just as well as the rubber kidney. And as I say, you can just let your imagination run away with you. If you want to make any wee fairies for the garden or flowers or plant pots or anything, you can just add to it, as long as you're not putting too much weight onto it and you're just keeping it at quite a small size. Again, for the wee snail, just a ball of clay. Rolling it out into a coil, and then you can just twist it in. And you can have a wee play about with the tools that are in your kit to see what marks to make as well. Some of the ends of these are quite nice for making like marks in it to make like slate tiles. Just showing on a wee scrap piece of clay. You can just press the edge in. Just have a wee play about with your tools as well on a scrap piece of clay and see what textures and what you can do with them. Okay, and then when it's all finished, you're going to leave it just maybe over a radiator or in a warm place just to dry, and just keep checking on it. If you see any wee cracks start to form when it's drying, you can just go over that with a wee bit of slip or a wee bit of vinegar just to strengthen it up. But you just want to make sure you've stuck it all really well together, and just leave it on your board nice and flat to dry. If you're transporting it to bring it back to the art centre for firing, then I would keep it on the board as well, and maybe just put some newspaper padding or something around it and put it inside a box. It's probably the easy thing for nothing to get damaged on it.